Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a Q&A, so I went ahead and asked you guys questions. I did actually a small Q&A on my Instagram so that you guys can check that out. Maybe I answered one of your questions in there, but I also did ask you guys on TikTok some questions related to ballet that you guys needed answered. I thought if I don't have enough questions here, which I think I do, let's just immediately start. One of the top questions that I always get is, and I get it almost like in every one of my recent TikTok videos, and that's, do you have to be flexible before you start? Okay, and before I get into that, I just want to explain that I am an adult dancer. I started dancing at 24 or 23. I honestly don't even remember at this point. But basically, I was just inspired by ballet, and I have been all my life. And I love to start hobbies. I mean, I had a whole list of hobbies that I wanted to start, but ballet was on the top of the list. So I decided, there was almost like no better time, to start. Anyway, now that I've been going off and on for the past 2 years, and also I have no dance experience, I thought I would just start on, just answer you guys' questions. Do you have to be flexible to start? Honestly, you don't have to be flexible to start ballet. My teacher does say that it's important to stretch. We'll stretch for like 30 minutes at least. We'll do some stretching 15 minutes in the beginning, somewhere in the middle, and then that's when we get to the jumping towards the end. But or any of the leaps and stuff like that, or the waltz or whatever. Yeah, so it is important to stretch. If you don't really stretch that often and you want to see progression, a lot of ballerinas tell me that you have to do it almost like twice a day to get a little bit more flexible, maybe like once every day. And if you're just feeling eager, probably twice a day, just so you can actually see results. And a lot of people also say make sure to go into class like 15 minutes early so you can get some stretching in. Unfortunately for my classes, there's a class right before mine. So when I come in, there's still like a class going on, and then immediately we're next. I guess it just depends on the studio and such, but you could also practice before you go, like right before you're over there. You don't have to be flexible. Over time, you'll get more flexible. It is great to try to stretch before class. Try to stretch outside of class. So that's when like yoga or just like any stretching videos come into play. And honestly, after a while, stretching just becomes like a habit just because it feels so good to stretch when you do it consistently. And so the days that you don't do it, you're just like, wait, something's off. Like my body just feels so, stiff. Would I be willing to go on point someday? Not sure if you've answered this question already. One of the reasons why I wanted to start ballet when I was deciding which hobby I was really going to take on as an adult. Side note, one of them was like trying to take like singing classes because I always wanted to kind of like learn a little. It's almost like play guitar, like you want to learn a little, Okay, whatever. I did really want to learn point, but once you start taking the classes, and it's so important when you're in your classes so that you can be consistent, to continuously remember why you're doing what you're doing so that you can consistently be eager to learn, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you'll have days where you just don't want to get out of bed. Now that I'm doing ballet, I've learned so much about it, and it's not all about point. If you guys ever want to go to point or do point and you're wondering how long, because this was one of my first questions, my teacher said like if you go like twice a week to ballet for about for every week for about 2 years, you should be able to go on point. But I don't go that often. I mean, like I wish I did, but I just go when I can. So yes, I would love to go on point one day, but I'm not in a rush. Not anymore because, well, one, I'd have to go more consistently, and that's fine, maybe one day. I love every aspect of ballet. Obviously it's frustrating at some points, but overall, yes, one day, but I'm not in a rush. What is the hardest thing to get used to when starting? And this is from Sarah. Endurance, stretching, feet soreness, etc. When you're starting, because we're not really actually on our toes that much, like yes, we do like raise and do some stretches and stuff like that, but mostly our feet are planted on the ground for the most part. The feet soreness doesn't really happen yet. I'm sure once you do point, that happens naturally, but I would say endurance could be challenging because you have to make sure that you're working out outside of ballet. You have to have a strong core to like stay in some of the poses that your teacher tells you to hold in when you're standing on like one foot, for example, and you're like arabesque, let's just say. But for me, the hardest part, especially like as a beginner, is honestly just following along. This one, okay, in the very beginning, it was following along, right? It was following along because I just couldn't mimic, even though I would visually see the teacher, I just couldn't mimic what she was doing. It was so hard, again, like having had no experience. Now that I'm like, you know, on and off 2-ish years in, I would say the most challenging part that has gotten easier is, to me, this is my thing always, is muscle memory. Just because I have gained a little bit of it, but I wish in a way I was way faster at it, like, you know, like a quick learner when it came to it. I've gotten better, but I just wish I was like a faster learner so that I can learn a lot of the combinations like faster, and so that I could follow the teacher whenever she's like, okay, do you remember how to do a waltz? Or like, let's do the beginning of the pirouette. And I just like kind of forget. And I think also what's challenging is like learning all the words, like tendu, plie. Those are kind of easier with repetition. I feel like you end up learning those with repetition. But even then, some of them I've still like never heard of before, just because I'm not at the intermediate level, let's just say. The next question is, what is something you wish you knew when starting or wish you didn't do when you began? This one's a loaded question because I'm sure like there's like technical things like, oh, you know, maybe practice before you went to your first class or whatever. But for me, what I would say is, I think what might have saved me a little bit more time. Okay, I was already going to a studio, my first ballet studio that was kind of near me, but I went there for 6 months and then COVID happened, so I went to a different studio. Just because I really thought about it, I was like, maybe this isn't working out for me. But basically, why this was something that I wish I knew before is because when I was going there, every single one of the adult classes, the teachers were always subs, like every single one of them. So I felt like in that studio, they didn't really take adult classes seriously because none of them ever really saw my progress, and it was so hard to learn that way. So that's like my advice to you, like really make sure that you go to studios that actually like value and try to learn where you're at and like learn your pace and just almost like learn your dance history too. So really make sure that you try out some studios and don't be afraid to try new ones. It's hard to advance that way, you know what I mean? So that's something that I wish I knew before I started. And that's something I didn't do before I started. And then because COVID happened, I was pushed to almost do it after the 6 months, which was amazing. You know what I mean? I don't know how long I would have been there if that hadn't happened. I'm not sure. Okay, so how has ballet positively / negatively... These are like honestly good questions because I'm like, I don't even know how to answer. Okay, how has ballet positively or negatively impacted your life, and how did you find time for it? How do you find time for it? I don't go that often, you know, like I say, like I go like 3-ish times a month. So I don't think that that's too hard to fit into it, especially since I like to like work out anyway. Or, you know, a few times a week or whatever. So it's just almost like it's another workout. I will say it's like 2 hours long most of the time. So it is like almost your sacred time, you know? But I think setting aside 2 hours in 1 week, let's just say that you decide to go once every week. Because that's the thing with adults. It's like, it's really when you can, because we're, you know, obviously we're adults, we have lives, and we're going to be busy. That makes sense. And this is like, it's hard to find time to separate for yourself. That's a whole other side note. We already know this. So positively, how has it impacted me positively? So if I look at everything from a larger perspective, when I first started, I wasn't documenting it. I only started posting it like 6 months ago, and I've been doing this for like 2-3 years. Sorry, I've been posting it on TikTok. I started posting on YouTube for a while, but even then, when I first posted my first ballet video, I was like, would anyone be interested in this? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. Like, I have no experience. Like, who am I to say all of these amazing things about ballet when I literally have no history in it? But I think that that's what drew people to that video of mine. That's one of my most popular videos. It positively has impacted my life in the sense that like once I started sharing my journey on my YouTube, but specifically on my TikTok, I've met a lot of you guys and I've gotten to interact with a lot of you guys, and I think hopefully through all my content you guys get to see that I am just like a person that likes to try things. Like I like to try new things. I like having also like a bunch of different hobbies. It's a creative outlet for me in that way that I'm just like so like eager to show myself that aspect about myself. I think I'm attracting some of you guys that also like to try new things, which to me, I love that, because I already immediately like, you're just interesting. You're immediately interesting because you like to try new things, and you're setting time aside for yourself, and you have something to talk about. Like you have yeah, I don't know. I think like those things are interesting, and having a creative outlet, that's really interesting to me. And maybe it's not ballet that you're starting. Maybe it's like ice skating, or because I do get a lot of that, or pole dancing, or just starting to pick up a hobby like hockey that you've never got to do whenever you were younger. So that to me is just super interesting, and positively, that's how it's impacted my life. Negatively, I don't think there's anything like super duper negative. It's just a hobby that I chose to do. I feel like if it was super negative, then I would just drop it. I think because I don't go that often, and because I never did it when I was younger where I took it so seriously, I never really got that pressure of like having a specific body type, making sure I'm perfect in every aspect. Like, and I'm not talking about like black swan, like, oh, I'm perfect. No. Like, I'm literally like being a Virgo perfect. I'm talking about like beating myself up because like my turns aren't, like my pirouettes aren't a certain way, or like my foot is in a certain way, or that I don't have like clean lines or whatever across my body or whatever. Thank God that didn't affect me negatively. I have talked about like kind of, and I feel like it's just where I'm at because of the things that have happened to me before. I've spoken about like how I was sick all last year, so I've had to have a lot of surgeries and medication and stuff like that. Ballet hasn't impacted my body negatively, but it is one of those sports that no matter what, because you're surrounded by mirrors and because we have such a close relationship with mirrors, you become hyper aware of your body, which I think that's something people should know before they enter it, because if you're kind of sensitive about your body and stuff like that, maybe really think about that before starting. How much time did it take for you to have stronger ankles? So here's the thing. Obviously for ballet, you'll need stronger ankles, but especially you'll need stronger ankles whenever you do point. I'm not there yet. It's so important to like work on your ankles, like maybe when you're watching TV, things like that on the side. Again, I'm not there yet. And I should dedicate more time on like stretching my ankles with, you know, the resistance band and like maybe the golf ball and stuff like that. But I'm just honestly not there yet, so I'm not sure. I would assume like if you do it consistently, it would take about 2 years. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are more qualified in that and have better answers, so you guys can go ahead and leave it in the bottom. Okay, so back to the flexibility one. Actually, I just realized someone did ask me that. Definitely try to do it on the side, and it's okay if you can't do the splits. Like, I can't do the splits. Obviously, it'll help you eventually pick up your leg better whenever you're doing certain poses. But yeah, try to practice it outside of ballet. Overall, what is it like? I've always wanted to start, but now I'm 20 something and I'm intimidated by it. So I always get a lot of things like that. Everyone is on their own journey. Like, it could be because you're afraid to show up to a class because you don't like going by yourself, or you just have never tried something new by yourself, or maybe you just feel very insecure about anything, you know, like something that's on your face, something like how your body looks, or you just don't want to be surrounded by people that you feel like are going to judge you. The community inside ballet, like the adults, they're all very helpful, and I will say that they're all minding their own business, looking at their own progress, trying to do better than the day before that they came. So just be aware that like no one's really gonna like judge you. After class, you feel good that you tried something that you've always wanted to do. But if it's the thing of like where you're just kind of like, this is so new, nobody that I know is going, the newness of it is what's intimidating you. The only way you can get over that fear, honestly, is literally by exposure, doing the things like maybe in like smaller aspects, and that can kind of like ripple into larger aspects of your life that you want to try new things but you've always felt intimidated by. I started when I was 23, 24, so I'm 25 now, so I don't think that there's anything to be intimidated by your age. Like, I think I'm actually one of the youngest people to show up to my class. For the most part, everyone's like a lot older. Just get yourself out there, just try new things, try to take one class. I would say like just focus on trying to go to one class. I did pole while I started ballet, and I still like it, but just not as much as ballet. And I just felt like really happy after I left, because I was happy I did something for myself, and I was happy I tried something, and it actually ended up being super duper fun. And I could say that about ballet too. Like, it was so fun. How did you find a studio? I don't know what to type in the search bar and haven't found anything. I get this question a lot too, and I did answer this I think on 2 different TikToks, and I have a video on it, but yours is a little bit more specific, which I like. I honestly just typed in like ballet studio or ballet dance studio, and luckily, because I live in a big city, there was a lot. I wasn't just gonna show up. I decided I would call and ask like, hey, do you guys, and sometimes it'll say on the website, and sometimes you're just not sure because the website is just kind of weird. I mean, I feel like that's a rude thing to say, but a lot of the times, you know, it's like they haven't updated their website. So what I would do is type in ballet studios near me, or look at different studios near you, and I would go ahead and call them and ask if they offer adult classes, and, you know, ask obviously about their scheduling. I would also make sure to ask like, okay, so if this is your goal, like I would ask like, would you guys also offer like intermediate classes after I've been going consistently? Do you guys also, for adult beginners, or for adults, would I be able to eventually go on point? Make sure that you would kind of ask them about the specific goals that you have in mind. There are some studios that are like, no, sorry, we don't offer adult classes. There was other ones that are like, yeah, we do. How do I know if ballet is the right sport for me, and reasons to start ballet? So that's a loaded question. Let me see, hold on. Okay, I think this is gonna be the last one, because actually this video is kind of long. You just have to go to the first class, and maybe like actually go for 6 months, I would say. Or you might know immediately after your first class. Maybe go to the second one though. I wouldn't just do it after one class, because honestly, after the first class, you're gonna be like, that was a lot. Yeah, I think you should just go and have a very open mind, and know that it is going to be challenging. And after that, after your first class, if you feel like, hey, I don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, and I just don't get the teacher, if the teacher's the issue, try a new studio. But I think I would give it a few tries before I completely give up on it. Yeah, and I would say that adult classes are a little bit more open-minded, and try not to compare yourself to any of the students that have had like history doing ballet for so long, because you're not on their level, and that's okay, you know what I mean? Like, they all started somewhere too. I hope I answered all your questions, and if you're drinking something, let's take a sip right now. Okay, I'm like choking, dying. Okay, anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for sending all your questions to me. I was really like, is anyone even gonna ask me anything? Like, cause like that would be kind of like, you know, embarrassing. But luckily, like, I have somewhat of a following now, and you guys are like genuinely curious, and I love answering these questions that you guys have, because honestly, like, I didn't have this resource when I was looking into ballet 3 years ago, you know? So anyway, I hope I answered your questions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. And of course, I'm going to see you guys on TikTok, and of course, I'm going to see you guys on my Instagram, and of course, I'm going to see you guys on whatever other social media platform I have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!